Emus. Towering, long-necked birds from the unforgiving Australian outback. Swift as the wind, relentless, kind of look like big turkeys on stilts, and most importantly, the undefeated champions of the 1932 Great Emu War. Yes, you heard that correctly. In 1932, Australia went to war with the emus and lost. So, how did all of this even start? Well, our story begins in Australia, land of the kangaroos, deadly spiders, and people who think Vegemite is edible. After World War I ended in 1918, Australia was faced with a new challenge. Thousands of returning soldiers' jobs had been filled while they were away at war, and now over 300,000 veterans, some handicapped, were left needing jobs to provide for their families. To help, in 1919, the government launched the Soldier Settlement Scheme. The plan? Give farmland to veterans as a reward for their service. On paper, their plan seemed perfect, but in reality, it ended up being a total disaster. You see, the thing with Australian soil is it kind of really sucks. Most land was dry, harsh, and nearly impossible to farm. Wheat was basically the only crop that could grow there, which is not exactly the recipe to financial security. But what else did they have? Fast forward to 1929, the Great Depression hit. Harvests were failing, people were struggling to survive, and just when they thought things couldn't get any worse, a new enemy appeared: the emu. After breeding season, tens of thousands of these massive, flightless idiot birds migrated inland, right into the veterans' wheat fields. Now here's a fun fact for those of you who care. Emus actually really love wheat, so you can imagine how these farms were like an all-you-can-eat buffet to these crop stompers. In almost no time at all, an estimated 20,000 emus were devouring crops, trampling fences, and leaving holes big enough for rabbits to storm in like an after-party no one wanted. The farmers were desperate. They begged the government for help, and in its infinite wisdom, the government decided the best solution wasn't subsidies or aid or, literally anything sensible. No. They sent in the Australian military. Enter Major G.P.W. Meredith and his crack team of 2 soldiers. Armed with Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammo, their mission was simple: kill emus. Lots of them. Sounds easy enough. Men with sick machine guns versus birds with non-functioning wings. It couldn't possibly be that hard, right? Wrong. See, emus are on average about 6 feet tall and are basically nature's tanks. They can take multiple bullets and continue sprinting like Olympians, 30 miles per hour to be exact. Not only that, but they actually had, battle tactics. A group of emus is called a mob, and whenever attacked, they'd split up into smaller mobs and scatter in every which direction. So instead of one big easy target, soldiers were stuck trying to spray and pray against a bunch of fast, zigzagging birds. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. I mean, by this point, the emus had populated to about 70,000. That's more than triple the amount they started with. The first battle was a total disaster. The soldiers opened fire way too early and most of the emus escaped. During the second battle, the guns jammed. But you know what? It's okay. Third time's a charm, right? If you guessed a hopeful yes, you'd be mistaken. The third time, they tried chasing the emus in a truck, but the truck was too slow and the ride was too bumpy for anybody to aim. By the end, after firing 3/4 of their rounds, the army only had a total of 986 confirmed kills, out of 70,000. That's not even close. The military officially withdrew. Australia had just lost a war to birds that don't know how to fly. Naturally, the farmers were still mad. The wheat was still gone, their fences were still wrecked, and they were still starving. Eventually, being that majority of the emus were still alive, the government surrendered the army idea and put a bounty on emus instead. And that actually worked. Within 6 months, an estimated 50,000 plus emu bounties were cashed in. But the fact remains, in 1932, the mighty Australian military was utterly defeated by a bunch of overgrown turkeys. And to this day, the emus remain undefeated. So if you're ever in Australia and run into an emu, pay him some respect, because that bird's ancestors fought a war and won.